Good day, this is Ryan from Ready Rhino 1, and I want to talk a little bit about Cyberpunk 2077, which is a game that was announced 8 years or so ago, quite a while ago, 2012. I think it was announced in 2012, and production began in, I believe, 2016, and it has been worked on for quite some time. I'm sure they probably started working on it in 2012 in terms of like, direction, storylines, the main overarching plot, different things like that, how they're going to go about doing it. I believe, though, active development began in 2016. So there was a couple of different release dates that had been given over the years. Sometime in April was the first one. Then it got pushed off to something else, I believe, in September, and then it was pushed off to November 19th. And November 19th was supposedly the final time they were going to delay it. They had, they announced that they were going to go gold, and that meant that they were, we're done. We're no more, feature freezes, no more anything. It's just a matter of just kind of cleaning up bugs and quality testing and that kind of thing. But they were definitely going for release on November 19th. Well, that was then recently rescinded, or rather, they just kind of delayed the release again. This time they were going out to December 10th. Now, this created kind of a big to do. People were very upset that it was pushed out until December 10th, which really isn't that many more days past November 19th. 20 plus days or so it's not that big of a deal. But it depends on what you're doing, right? Some people actually scheduled and took off work to play the game, and they're very upset that now that that's been canceled, they have to now move that around, or maybe they don't. I'm sure some people probably cancel their subscriptions. Got a little crazy though. Apparently, some people were actually sending death threats to the developers, which I think is a bit much. The developers themselves don't really have a whole lot of say in this kind of thing. And I kind of skimmed over the announcement because I kind of just don't really care, like, if they push it off again. And it's something to do about the next gen hardware that's coming out, and I don't know. I don't really mind it too much because I'm not really intending on playing it like when it came out anyway. Because if it came out around this time, was it the holidays? There might be traveling, that kind of stuff, and it's going to break up the playthrough, and for me, that's kind of bad. So I figured I'll just wait. When it comes out, I'll probably still won't play it on release day. I'll probably wait even after that. So I'm not really concerned too much about it. Um, so Cyberpunk is the game itself is it's kind of a part of a genre that's called cyberpunk, and this was a genre that was actually, I think, was essentially minted by um, a book called Neuromancer, which kind of laid out the foundations of cyberpunk, and it's been kind of a pivotal work in that entire genre. And since then, there have been other games that have implemented that kind of genre in their games. For me, notably the game Shadowrun. Now, I first played this on the SNES when I was much younger. I think my dad and I picked it up from a pawn shop for dirt cheap. I had no idea what it was. It had like a ram's skull on the front of it, and then some like digital circuits behind it, so it's kind of cool looking. But I had that game, and I remember playing it, being really confused as to what to do. Because when you pick up games secondhand, you don't get a manual, and this was, of course, before I could connect to the internet, so I was kind of lost. You just kind of sat there and tried to sort things out, or you had to go pick up like a player's guide somewhere. But this game had come and gone already for the SNES, and so I didn't have that option. They had the more popular games like the Final Fantasies always had one. Um, Mario RPG had one. Super Metroid had one. That was a little hard to find, but I had Super Metroid as well, and I had a really tough time with some of that game. But anyways, so Shadowrun was a pretty cool game. I really enjoyed it. You play, you have street samurais, just like what they have in Cyberpunk 2077, and you you could jack into, I think they called the Matrix. They literally called it the Matrix. This is well before the movie, obviously, but it's basically this massive internet type thing, and use data jack, which was like implanted into your head. You could jack into this whole thing. You could hack into different systems. You could um, you had to get through security, like digital security kind of thing, to get information or to get money from the accounts, that kind of thing. It was kind of a cool little like side mini game or whatever you want to call it, but it really kind of fed into the whole genre. It was a very entertaining game. I still play it every once in a while, just because. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and so I've always liked it. The whole cyberpunk genre. It's been kind of really neat to kind of experience it and see what different development studios do with that genre. Um, Shadowrun got a massive facelift. I wouldn't want to say recently. It was they came out with some games on Steam that was basically kind of like a pen and paper type game. Like you kind of moved your character around and you did stuff like that. And I bought that. Like I even got some of the DLC, or not DLC, but the expansions on that. Unfortunately, I didn't really get into it. It's probably just because I just didn't really feel like playing it at the time, and I'm kind of waiting for that to come back before I actually go through one big playthrough of it. Originally, Shadowrun was a pen and paper RPG, kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing. So it's not a um, it's not a foreign concept to have it in that form. But it's been I've never played the pen and paper game, so it's not something that I'm too familiar with. But I'm sure it's probably really similar. And the Shadowrun remake or everything, even though it's a completely different storyline, I call it a remake. That one feels more like closer to a pen and paper game. Now the one for SNES was a little bit. It wasn't like pen and paper game. You just like walked around as much as you want, and then you got ambushed by stuff, and then you would stop, pull out your gun, start shooting, pick up the currency, new yen, you get karma, raise or develop your character, complete. You didn't really do quests per se. I mean, you'd pick up stuff that would you had to find or explore and then return to someone else, but there wasn't any like formal quest system. Um, so um, it's a little bit of as much of the background as I know about the cyberpunk genre. That I know there are plenty of people out there who know way more than I will ever know about cyberpunk. That I'm sure could elaborate far more, but that's just kind of my exposure to it. But I have been excited about the release of Cyberpunk 2077, even though it's been delayed. Not that big of a deal, I don't think. And I'm I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I don't want to get myself too hyped up about it. Some people do get themselves extremely hyped up about stuff like that, but the problem is you get too hyped up about something and you start to create this impossible fantasy in your head about what the game is going to be, and then when you actually play it, it doesn't live up to that fantasy. So it's kind of best to kind of keep your expectations kind of like low, kind of on a simmer, and then when you do experience it, if it is good, it will elevate. If not, well, then it was probably pretty bad to begin with, right? And it would have been a farther fall if you had hyped it up too much in your head. So I'm kind of just keeping, tempered expectations about the game. Still looking forward to it, when it does release. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I'm hoping I will be past the traveling portion of the holidays so that I can just kind of give a nice big block of time to it. I'm hoping it'll keep my interest, or that I'll be able to keep my interest in it. Sometimes I'll jump around between different games. Don't exactly know why. But hopefully it'll keep my interest. It'll be pretty good. I know there's a lot to do. One thing I do want to make sure that I keep in mind is I don't want to try and do like a perfectionist, completionist kind of thing. I tend to fall into that sometimes. I think like, oh, there's like 60 quests in this area. I need to complete all 60 quests before I move on with the main story. And I don't know. Sometimes if I do that, then I can get like really out in the weeds, and then I kind of lose sight of where I'm going, and the game just becomes blah, and I get kind of like anxious that I'm not, completing every single thing. So I want to just I don't want to blitz through the game. What I will probably do though is definitely keep on the storyline and do a couple of quests as I feel like it, but not try to get all of them. Just kind of like, you know what, I don't really care about some of this stuff. I can get it later, or I can get it through a different playthrough. I'm kind of sort of hoping that there are quests that um, that are tailored more for a different character build. So like if I were to do a street samurai, that might be more, a physical melee type character, and so a lot of the like hacking and data jacking kind of stuff is kind of outside of my purview. That's not to say that you couldn't create a character that could also do that, but I'm sure there's just probably different things, right? Your character can't be master of everything, jack of all trades kind of thing. And so I'll have to like pick a lane, and then I'll only do side quests that are in that lane. So if I don't do any kind of data jacking, then I will skip any and all quests that have to do with data jacking. Hopefully it won't be something like, oh yeah, well yeah, you can definitely skip these quests, but there's this one that you should totally do because it gives you this really great item that has nothing to do with data jacking. It would be really great for someone who's a melee character. It's like, oh great. I don't want to do any spoilers, so I'm going to try and stay away from a lot of that kind of stuff. So hopefully that won't, I won't run into too much of that. And I'll be able to kind of get through a steady clip of the game, get through it. I don't want to stress too much on character creation. I tend to do that. I am an altaholic, right? So I I like to have multiple characters that flesh out all the different types of character builds you can have. So in like Borderlands, they have all these different character classes. I want a character in every single class. I want to develop a character in each of the classes to see what all they do, and then then I'll like, oh, then I'll choose one that I really like, and then it's by that time you're kind of burned out, right? You kind of restarted the game so many times. You've done all the opening tutorial and starter quests that you're just like, I'm done with this. You don't even want to continue. I'm not gonna do that this time. I'm gonna do a little bit of research, and I'll probably end up picking some kind of physical melee character because for me those are easier to play. And I enjoy them. I enjoy other character types more. But I figured I'll do a playthrough on what I perceive to be kind of a straightforward, easier character class to play. Um, and then when I become familiar, because you probably be able to dabble in other things, even in that class. And so I might discover like, oh, I really like this aspect of the game. On my next playthrough, I will choose a class that does that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. It'll help me to kind of stay focused and play through the game just in one go. And so I'll probably still be a long game, but at least I'll be more familiar with it. Then the second playthrough, it'll be a lot easier for me to kind of get through it. I'll be more familiar with different things. I'll know like, okay, don't bother collecting this. This is worthless. And that kind of thing. Only to find out towards the end that that's actually really good and that you should have been collecting that all along. But that's, the fun of playing through it several times. A lot of times with these types of games, I'll pick a character class and like it'll be like, it's okay, and then I'll go to something else, and eventually I find one that's like that just speaks to me. I may not enjoy it, but I enjoy that I'm good at it. If that makes sense, like I like data jacking, but I'm really good at melee, and so I'm going to enjoy the melee characters because I'm good at it. I don't know if that's just kind of makes speaks to me being very risk averse, but no, it should be fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. One thing I would like to really see is a Ciri cameo. So Ciri was a character from the Witcher series, and there is a part in Witcher 3, I believe. I can't remember if it's in the Witcher 3 or if it's somewhere in the lore, right? It might be one of the books. But she talks about there's a part where she's like jumping through dimensions, or not dimensions. She's jumping through time. I think through these different portals. She's trying to escape, and I don't want to give too many spoilers about that. But one of the times that she finds herself in, she describes what essentially amounts to the cyberpunk, like time, like that whole era, and then she jumps away. So it's been theorized that when Cyberpunk 2077 like was first announced, that was the first thing people started jumping on. It's like, hey, do you remember this part where Ciri's and she describes what amounts to a cyberpunk setting? And so I'm pretty confident And I don't know if it's going to be part of a story, part of a quest, or if it'll just be like a throwaway type thing. Like you're just at some point in the game, you have to walk down this particular alley or street, and all of a sudden, like off in the distance, a portal opens up. Siri literally jumps out of it, looks around, someone shoots at her, and then she jumps into another portal, and then that's it. Like it could be some like really quick throwaway thing, a little Easter egg. So I'm kind of hoping for that. That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. Um, but we'll see. I can't imagine that the developers or game designers are not aware of Siri describing the cyberpunk. Like she actually went to it. So I'm sure they're going to do something with it. I'd be very surprised if they don't. Well, it could be like a DLC thing, right? They don't do anything in the main game, but then you get one of the DLCs, and boom, that's where you get it. I don't know. We'll see. Well, that's all I want to talk about for this one. So I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye.